It's Monday, October 30. In the headlines, Jamaica was rocked by an earthquake at approximately magnitude 5.4. Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, explains Jamaica's stance on Gaza war. In business news, we have your usual market updates and more. Regionally, St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister urges Caribbean countries to unite. Internationally, thousands continue to march in support of Gaza in multiple cities worldwide. And in sports, Reggae Girls versus Guatemala. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Jamaica was rocked by an earthquake, clocking estimated magnitude 5.4. This is the data published on earthquake.org. The Bahamas, Haiti, United States minor outlying islands, and Cuba were also affected. Scores of Jamaicans ran out or took cover as the place shook for more than 10 seconds at about 10:57 a.m. This was the strongest earthquake felt in recent history. Public debate surged on the weekend when news surfaced that Jamaica was absent from Friday's United Nations General Assembly vote on a resolution calling for a humanitarian truce in Gaza. Minister of Foreign Affairs Kamina Johnson-Smith says while Jamaica was absent from the vote, it supports the resolution. In a statement released on Sunday, she says Jamaica's failure to vote on the resolution was not a shift in its stance on human rights. She further states that Jamaica, as the chair of the CARICOM Caucus of Ambassadors at the United Nations, was actively engaged in discussions concerning the Jordanian resolution and not only collaborated on the CARICOM statement, but led its drafting. The Foreign Affairs Minister says, quote, "The situation in the Middle East demands a unified global voice against human rights violations, while respecting states' rights to self-defense within the perimeters of international law." End quote. She furthers, quote, "While a technical cross in communication led to Jamaica's representative not voting, our statement on the UN General Assembly floor on behalf of all CARICOM member states unequivocally supports a peaceful resolution of the conflict, humanitarian aid for victims of war, and the release of hostages." End quote. A new border security management system is expected to come online soon. Jamaica's Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency, PICA, says the system will better enable the entity to collect, process and analyze information on persons entering the country. The agency's Chief Executive Officer, Andrew Winter, says that the new system, which is expected to come in stream in 2 years, will ensure more secure border operations, particularly as persons take advantage of technology for ease of travel. Mr. Winter says that PICA is committed to improving its efficiency in securing the borders against persons involved in human trafficking, who are a part of criminal organizations or are engaged in other nefarious activities. He told the press that criminals are also using technology, and it's important to have the appropriate systems that can match and assist the agency. He notes that the agency is equipped with a suite of security products, such as Document Forensic Lab, to assist identifying fraudulent documents and facial recognition systems. Work is being done to update the National Identification System, NIDS, based on feedback from its pilot program. Program Director for NIDS, Dr. Warren Vernon, gave an update on the project at the post-cabinet press briefing at Jamaica House recently.
For the next couple of months is to support policymakers in getting the authority established. In addition, a lot of emphasis are being placed now on preparing more enrollment centers. For this year, we are already out for tender for 20 Jamaica post offices that we are modifying to facilitate enrollment.
NIDS is intended to provide a secure and reliable structure to enable the collection, storage, and verification of identity information. It will involve the issuance of a unique, lifelong national identification number to every person. Minister without portfolio and responsibility for skills and digital transformation, Senator Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon, says the regulations governing the implementation of NIDS are being finalized. Dr. Morris-Dixon says extensive work has been done to build out the framework for NIDS and to ensure citizens' privacy and data protection.
A lot of work has happened in terms of building out the framework for our national ID. And very importantly, there's a lot of work on privacy and data protection, how we protect people's information as we build out NIDS. And so the team has worked tirelessly to ensure that Jamaicans can feel safe in giving their information, in giving their biometric info and putting it in the system because it is secure.
Dr. Morris-Dixon is reminding persons that enrollment to NIDS is voluntary. Before we end the local news, here's a message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Hospital visits are anticipated to increase up to the end of this year and into the first few months of next year as we see more cases of dengue, flu, and other illnesses. As a result, emergency departments may be overcrowded with longer waiting times. We have therefore extended opening hours at select health centers island-wide. Persons with mild illnesses and chronic diseases, including diabetes and hypertension, should visit with their health center. Let us work together to protect others against dengue and other illnesses.
In the weather report, today, October 30, expect mostly cloudy conditions with showers and thunderstorms, especially across northern and southeastern parishes. Lingering nighttime showers are forecast mainly across eastern parishes. On Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms are forecast mainly across eastern and central parishes during the afternoon. Time now for the business report with Danita Rodney.
Welcome to the business report. I'm Danita Rodney. This week's young boss is making his mark in the shipping industry. He is CEO of SSN Shipping Consultants, Sheldon Plummer.
I'm Sheldon Plummer, Managing Director of SSN Shipping Consultancy Services. Our business entails online shopping, logistics, anything to do with shipping, sea freight, air freight. That's what we do. We mostly cater to persons who already have their credit card or prepaid debit card. To use our services, you would have to sign up on our website. That's ssnshipserve.com, and you register there. You get your US mailing address, and from there you just register with any US shipper and online store, and you'll be able to start doing your shopping from there. We're taking it one step at a time. There are challenges as well as there are months where things run pretty smooth, and we're basically in a stage of growing, and we're break-evening at this moment, so that's a good sign. I think the country needs to do more in terms of the infrastructure. I think access to loans and stuff like that is a challenge as well. In terms of commercial spaces, they're very limited, and a lot of the cost to acquire a commercial space in a very desirable location, it's very high. For now, we're servicing the corporate area. Our intent is to branch off in other parishes eventually, but for persons outside of Kingston, we normally send stuff via Tara, or we send stuff by Knutsford Express. So persons will still have access to us. The current location is at 23 Haining Road, Kingston 5. It's right across from DHL, so most times when people are asking for directions, that is the landmark that we give them. For anybody starting a business, I'd say you would have to be very committed to it. It is something that takes a lot of your time, both with your family, friends, your social life, even your health suffers as a result of starting a business. So you have to be committed to it and have people who can build a support base that you can rely on. You can find us at SSN Shipping on Instagram, SSN Shipping on Facebook as well. Google ads, there. Once you go on Google, you'll be privy to that information as well.
Now for your market updates. In foreign exchange trading for Friday, October 27, the US dollar sold for an average of $156.59. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $113.49. The pound sterling traded for $189.86, and the euro sold for $167.63. In JSE trading, the JSE index advanced by over 3,589 points. The junior market index declined by over 11 points. The combined market index advanced by over 3,257 points, and the All Jamaican Composite Index advanced by over 168 points. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 104 stocks, of which 34 advanced, 49 declined, and 21 traded firm. Stocks advanced for Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited, Consolidated Bakers Jamaica Limited, and Dollar Financial Services Limited. Stocks declined for Access Financial Services Limited, AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, and Berger Paints Jamaica Limited. Trading firm were 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, Barita Investments Limited, and Cargo Handlers Limited. The overall volume leaders were Paramount Trading Jamaica Limited with over 26 million units, Trans Jamaican Highway Limited, and Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares with over 1 million units. In regional business, in Trinidad and Tobago, Calypso Macro Index Fund posted a volume of 400 shares. On the Barbados Stock Exchange, Goddard Enterprises Limited was the sole security trading over 7,000 shares. In regional business, Barbados' economy grew by 4.4% for the first 9 months of the year. This revelation from Central Bank Governor Dr. Kevin Greenwich as he delivered the bank's economic review.
So in tourism sector as a whole, we had 13% growth, expansion in tourism GDP, construction 6.2%, that will have benefit from tourism projects and continuing road works. Agriculture performed strongly with 10.7% growth in the agriculture sector, led by food crop, which grew by over 22%, even though there were some adverse weather conditions. Food crop increased very strong. The heat and the adverse weather condition would have impacted milk and also would have impacted chicken, but overall, very strong performance in agriculture. The U.S. market, at the peak, we had 168,000 tourists. Now, we are 129, so there's still a bit of space to catch up before you reach full pre-COVID. We are better than 2018 and 17, but still below 2019. And the main constraint here reflects, again, airlift capacity. It has improved over last year, but it remains still an area where we can get more if we can get the airlift and seating capacity coming out to the United States. In terms of CARICOM, we are pretty much close. We are 110,000 below where we were in 2019. And so this continues, as long as we can continue to keep our yearly calendar of events going, this will continue to grow, and there's a strong performance. And again, Canada is back where it's supposed to be. That growth over the medium term is expected to come, and I said it last time, through continuing investment. Under the BERT program, we expect the private sector to step up investment from the current roughly 8% of GDP, which is about just under $1 billion, to close to $2 billion. That's how we're going to get the growth going forward. That's what is baked into the numbers. Government will continue to step up on its capital expenditure program also. And with that, we expect this year is almost over 1 quarter to go, we're expecting 4 to 4.5%.
In international business, U.S. stocks closed mostly lower on Friday, losing momentum as investors digested a hectic week of mixed earnings.
The Dow fell more than 1%. The S&P 500 gave back 0.5%, and the Nasdaq rose nearly 0.4%. All three indexes notched weekly losses. Contigo Global Head of Applied Research Melissa Brown blames it on the dour mood of investors and traders.
Good earnings news, the stocks get hammered. Bad earnings news, stocks get hammered. I think it's all a result of basically sentiment being negative. And so any news, unless it's really good, is going to tend to be punished.
The Commerce Department's hotly anticipated personal consumption expenditures report showed inflation gradually cooling down as expected, getting closer to the Federal Reserve's 2% annual target, while consumer spending, which accounts for about 70% of the U.S. economy, posted a robust upside surprise. The Fed is expected to leave interest rates unchanged at its policy meeting next week. Meanwhile, about half of the companies in the S&P 500 have reported quarterly earnings with nearly 80% topping expectations. That includes chipmaker Intel, which jumped 9% Friday. But Ford plunged 12% after it withdrew its full-year forecast due to uncertainty over the pending ratification of its deal with the United Auto Workers Union. It also warned of continued pressure on electric vehicles.
In market data for oil slipped more than 1% on Monday as concern eased about the Israel-Hamas war affecting supply from the region and as investors adopted caution ahead of this week's U.S. Federal Reserve meeting and other indications of global economic health. Brent crude futures dropped 95 cents to $89.53 a barrel, while West Texas Intermediate crude was down $1.12 at $84.42. And that was the business report on PBCJ. I'm Danita Rodney.
In regional news from Barbados. Caribbean countries have been called on to unite to address the common challenges they face. It's coming from Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. Terence Drew, at the opening of the Barbados Labour Party's 84th annual conference. Sharika Griffith has the details.
The conference is being held under the theme, BLP at age 85, Crafting Our Future Responsibly. Addressing a packed auditorium at the Darrell Jordan Secondary School, featured speaker and Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. Terence Drew, suggested countries in the Caribbean must come together if they are to effectively tackle the problems they face.
We are one region facing the same challenges, and that is why our integration is so important. It is why our small states continue to dedicate time and effort into advocating so loudly and passionately for the meaningful reform of the broken international financial architecture that has not kept pace with the changes in the global economy and is not fit for purpose. And why we support our sister mayors Bridgetown initiative that has the potential to effect the kind of changes that are essential to ensure equitable growth and sustainable development.
The party's highest award, the Grantley Adams Award, went to the President of the Senate, His Honor Reginald Farley. In his acceptance speech, he urged the policymakers of today to lay the foundation for those to come.
Even against the complaints and the pushback, because sometimes the people that we're leading are not able to see that place where we want to take them. Sometimes they complain that the new road is a little bumpy. It may be strange, and they will want to revert to the present comfort, even if it's not so comfortable, but it's familiar. And we need to have the intestinal fortitude as leaders to press on, as Grantley Adams did, to give a better Barbados.
There was also a tribute to the late government minister, Don Williams, who died in August. Prime Minister Mia Amour Motley described him as a stalwart of the party.
I pray that his family will appreciate that we truly, truly value their sharing John with us over the course of almost 50 years of service to this great party. And indeed, our honors, and we may well reflect it both at the national level and in the party, are not conferred posthumously, but if they could have been, believe you me, John would be a recipient.
During the night's proceedings, party members from each constituency were recognized for their dedication. Awards of recognition were also presented in areas such as youth, the environment, sports, and culture. Sharika Griffith, CBC News.
In Antigua, Prime Minister Gaston Brown expects next year to be a bumper year for the country's economy, especially as the Twin Island state hosts its 4th conference of small island developing states. However, the head of government expects it will take until 2025 for the economic fundamentals to return to pre-COVID normality. Theresa Goodwin reports.
Prime Minister Gaston Brown, who is also in charge of the finance portfolio, emphasized that despite the administration's success in growing the economy over the past 3 years, challenges remain due to the setbacks experienced during the height of the COVID pandemic.
There's been a spectacular recovery. We've been doing an average of about 8% per annum per year since 21. So barring 20 where we lost 18%, we have done very well. But when you look at it in terms of the net effect of the 24% to 25% by which we grew the economy during the last 3 years and the 18% that we lost, we're still struggling. So it will take maybe another couple of years for us to fully stabilize the country's economy. So the fact that we have grown the country's economy for the last 3 years, there's still displacement.
The International Monetary Fund is projecting Antigua and Barbuda will be the 3rd fastest growing economy in Latin America and the Caribbean this year, and the 2nd fastest growing in 2024. It expects a real gross domestic product in Antigua and Barbuda to grow by 5.5% in 2023, behind oil-rich Guyana at 37.2% and St. Vincent and the Grenadines at 6.0%. Turning to 2024, the IMF forecast Antigua and Barbuda will emerge as the 2nd fastest growing economy with growth of 5.4%. According to the Prime Minister, the government requires an additional 2 years to strengthen the fiscal position to fulfill its financial commitments. He expresses concern over the government's current financial struggles, noting that these challenges are also impacting their political standing.
It hurt us to go into the last elections. We just weren't able to meet our obligations. We have a lot of creditors who have not been paid. And even our own supporters, they're disgruntled. So you'll find that they and their family members, they will not participate, they'll stay home, they don't want to vote against us. But until such time we start to pay them regularly, those issues will persist.
However, he expects a major boost to economic activity next year.
I think in 2024 we'll have a great year. We'll be having the CIS4 conference. We expect about 5,000 people. We should have at least another 3,000 for Cricket World Cup. We'll be hosting England here. That's another, 3,000 plus 5, 8,000 people plus the ordinary traffic. Next year should be a bumpy year. So by about 2025, this time, we should be in a far stronger position and should be back to some level of normalcy, pre-COVID normalcy.
Theresa Goodwin, ABS News.
In international news, tens of thousands of people are continuing to protest in cities across the world in solidarity with Palestine. The demonstrations come as many Western governments, including the US and UK, are still asserting Israel's right to defend itself. Al Jazeera's Neve Barker reports.
Flying the flag for a ceasefire. This is the Pakistani capital, Islamabad, where vast numbers filled the streets. As Israel expands its assault on Gaza, a passionate cry for world leaders to help end the violence.
We have come to appeal to our government and to wake our government up. Wake up, and go stand beside them. The Palestinians are our brothers.
An overwhelming majority of nations backed the recent UN resolution calling for a sustained humanitarian truce, but many of Israel's Western allies didn't. Australia abstained from that vote, to the anger and disbelief of many here in Sydney.
It's anyone that has any kind of morality, any kind of humanity, would definitely be standing with that kind of cause.
Many Jews, like me, reject what Zionists are doing in our name. We reject the genocide that is continuing in Palestine, and the savagery is quite unbelievable.
In Europe, Spain is one of only 8 EU countries supporting a complete ceasefire. And in the capital, Madrid, a sense of frustration at the lack of a European consensus on ending the bloodshed.
It's a shame what's happening to the Palestinian people, and that the whole of Europe, some European governments, are even supporting it. I think that we citizens should take to the streets and mobilise, so that at least there's a ceasefire.
In Germany, a 3-week ban on rallies and flags has been lifted, allowing members of one of the largest Palestinian communities in Europe to gather in anger and grief. In the past few weeks, millions have marched in multiple cities around the world. The cries for peace growing ever more desperate. Neve Barker, Al Jazeera.
In sports, the match between Jamaica's Reggae girls and Guatemala in their CONCACAF Women's Gold Cup qualifying Group B game ended 2-2 on Sunday. The match took place at the National Stadium. After going behind in the first half and rallying to take the lead in the second half, the Reggae girls had to be satisfied with a point in the draw after losing their first game 2-1 to Panama last week. The draw left Jamaica at the foot of the 3-team group on 1 point from 2 games. Panama leads with 6 points from 3 games, 2 more than Guatemala on 4, also from 3 games. With their 3-match series tied at 2, it was all to play for in the third one-day international between the West Indies Women A team and Pakistan Women A on the weekend. Here's how that one turned out.
The West Indies Women's A team chose to field first when they won the toss in Lahore. And after getting to 49 for the first wicket, Pakistan A struggled to get runs on the board. They registered 3 ducks in the innings, which saw 27 from Sidra Nawaz as the top scorer, Anusha Nazir 23, and Shalwal Zulfikar 22 were the other high scores, as the host folded for 162 all out in 44.4 overs. Jazara Claxton was the main destroyer with the ball for the regional side, taking 4 wickets for 19 runs in 6 overs. West Indies A women also got a good start in the chase, with Chanel Sow and Shamika Gajnabi putting on 53 for the first wicket before Gajnabi departed for 24. So made 37. But it was a top score of 51 not out in 84 balls with 7 fours by Janaba Joseph, which took them to the win, despite 3 ducks, which were part of a collapse from 3 for 104 to 6 for 106. Ramin Shamim was virtually unplayable with her right arm off breaks as she returned figures of 4 for 13 in 10. Despite her heroics, the West Indies Women's A team got to 164 for 7 to win by 3 wickets and take the series 2-1. Wayne Cunningham, TTT Sport.
And that's it for the news on PBCJ. You can follow us on our social media platforms at PBCJamaica. Thanks for watching.